Welcome to the video lecture series again on how to work in Google Sheets. We're going to focus on how to make graphs in Google Sheets. Now, if you're used to making graphs in Excel, there are some key differences in Google Sheets. So this video will take care of some of those inconsistencies for you. So we're going to learn how to create common graph types. These are the bar, column, and line graphs. We're also going to look at histograms and scatter plots just briefly. This is a very short video, so it'll just give you the basics so that you can create charts in Flash. Google Sheets makes it very easy to make charts. Most of the things that you do to make charts, which I also say graphs interchangeably, are made easy by using this menu here where you can click Insert and select Chart, or you can use the Explore tab. And let's work through a couple examples of how to do this. Once you get used to doing this too, you can play around with formatting, colors, and different styles. There are a couple different versions of charts that you should be familiar with making. The first is bar and column graphs. So we're going to work first with this data. It's important to get your data in the kind of format that you need to display in a chart, meaning that the exact summary statistic is summarized in a table like this. So you shouldn't start with data, for example, for frequencies that aren't summarized as a frequency. So you shouldn't see the raw data by individual here. It should be summarized and aggregated up. So here I have households living below the federal poverty level for the year 2019. This is the United States. And I have just a handful of New England states here and the percent of households living below the federal poverty line. And so I'm just going to go ahead and highlight my data. This is the data that I want to be represented in my chart. So I can do a couple things. I can go up to Insert, or I can go down here to the Explore tab. So let's just do the Explore tab for a second, which I can use Alt-Shift-X. Or I can just click it here, and you note that it just again brings up a whole bunch of things. If I scroll down, it'll suggest some different chart types. And so the first is a pie chart. Now I want to kind of dissuade you from using pie charts. In general, no one uses pie charts anymore. They're out of fashion, but moreover, they're kind of busy looking. I mean, this is kind of annoying to look at. And you typically only use a pie chart if you only have one slice out of a whole. So like showing comparison of two things where the total is 100 or 100% or out of one thing. So we don't want to use that, but if you scroll down, you can see there are two different types of charts here that look interesting. So it shows us the percent on the vertical axis, and the horizontal we have the states here. Interesting. All right, so same here. All right, so the two different charts here are the column. So if I just left click and drag this over, this is the chart that they're showing me here. Okay, and so it shows me for each individual state here on the axis, it shows me a column. So this is a column chart, and it shows me the percentages here. So this is a really easy column chart that you can put together. But if I don't want that, maybe I want a bar chart. So I'm going to drag this one over. And bars are exactly what they would look like. The way I remember the distinction between the two is a bar chart is something that I might actually pick up a barbell and actually, be in the gym and I'm pumping iron. That's the orientation of these bars. Or bars, these are bars that sort of go left and right, so they're always going to be running, and you can see that the labels here clearly, the geography here showing each state, and then you have your outcome here, which is the percent below the poverty level. Okay, interesting. If you want to change the formatting here, you can go to Edit Chart, and that will bring up your chart editor, and you can customize things here. You can even change the chart type back to a different type here. I can change that back to a column. I can also go down here and change the data range I can just show, for example, if I only want to show the top two here, I can go ahead and do that and show just the two states. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to do Control Z. All right, and again, I can click out of this anytime I want, but anytime I want to make edits, again, you can click the chart, click the three little buttons in the hamburger here on the upper right, and I can go to Edit. And there you can customize things. So again, spend some time looking at this, but you can customize the look and feel of this in a lot of different ways. You can change the background color, for example, and make this a different color. I'm not going to do that because I don't like that color, and so on. All right, so that is how you make a column and bar chart type. And again, you can use different ones, and it's usually best if you have frequency data. So these are relative frequencies. All right, now going back to the pie chart, if you have a percent of something out of a whole or a part of a whole, you can use either a donut or a stacked bar or column chart type. Now, if you're going to use a donut type, a donut is exactly what it sounds like. You have to have at least some data that adds up to 100. So the whole is like up to 100, and you want to display one portion prominently out of the other portion. So there's one that is positive out of the negative. And here, this is data from the BREFAS survey, Massachusetts adults who have had at least one drink of alcohol within the past 30 days. This is from the 2020 survey. And so, yes, 60% said yes to this question in the survey, well, 40% did not. So 100% is the total here. Great, I've got a perfect opportunity to do a donut. I'm now going to use the alternate way of inserting a graph by going up to Insert and clicking Chart. Now you'll notice I didn't select any data, and it's going to say, whoops, I have no data. I did this purposely to show you can select your data at any time. It will automatically select whatever my cursor selected before I even selected my chart. And so I'm going to correct this by, again, in the chart editor, coming over and clicking this little table here, select data range, and then I'm going to go ahead and choose my range here. Now you note that I did select all my labels, and I'm going to select the data that's contained with those labels. Click OK. And now it's going to show me a column chart. Now I don't want a column chart, I want a donut. And so if I click chart type in the chart editor setup section, I can look at the different kinds of charts that are available to me. I'm going to scroll all the way down here. There's a lot of different kinds. I can even do geographic ones if I have geographic data, which is really cool. But I'm going to go up here and look at the pie, donut, and 3D pie charts. Now I'm going to choose the open donut chart. And there I have it. I now have my no's and my yeses here. Now, if I don't think my no and my yes are the right labels, I can go ahead and edit this data anytime by saying, for example, had one drink, and put did not have one drink. Okay. And so that might be a bit more informative as a label, so that will be helpful to some people in understanding what this says. So that's how you can make a donut chart. If I want to edit any aspect of the styling here, I can click on different elements of the chart. For example, if I want to change this color here from blue to, for example, one of my favorite colors, purple, and make that a little bit nicer to look at, and I want to make this a light purple. Just to make the point that I'm looking at the had one drink and making that a bit more prominent, I can. I can also add styling by doing just, some auto labeling. I can move this, for example, to a legend that has on the right, although I don't particularly like those types of labels, so I'm just going to go back to what I liked before. I can also go up here and change the chart style automatically if I want to with themes. I can change the background color. For example, I can make this like a gray color if I want to. So those are some options, but the donut chart is really helpful when, again, you have one out of a whole. So if I wanted to see what percentage of everyone who answered this one survey question was in terms of who had a drink of alcohol in the last month, I have that information, and this makes a really useful infographic. Okay, but what if I have other parts of a whole, but I have more than just one piece, one out of a whole. I have a whole bunch of things out of a whole, where all of my data equals 100. So for example, in one survey question here, people could answer anything from excellent to poor for their health status. So here I'm going to highlight my data, and I'm again going to go to the insert chart option, and it's going to automatically give me a pie chart because that's what the default here is, but I don't like that for an option, so I'm going to go down to a stacked approach. Now if you look at the bar, you can do bar or column here, but what I'd like to do is to go to the far right here and look at the 100% stacked options. Because the data equals a whole of 100%, I need to use the stacked approach. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the bar chart. Okay. Now I don't really like that orientation that much. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me because it's showing excellent, very good, fit, poor. How do I fix that? Okay. I'm going to go back and see if it will allow me to make some more changes. Maybe I want to do something else here. Would this be better? Okay, no, that doesn't look better. Let's make some more changes. Maybe there's some other ways we can represent this. Okay. So the stack bar is useful when you want to change things that go up to 100, but you'll note that when in Excel, you can actually do that automatically with the stacked option. You cannot do it with Google Sheets, as I just demonstrated. So you have to do a little bit of work to make that work. So one option is to just stick with the columns here. And that looks okay for the most part. But you can also get these to line up so that you have excellent stacked on top of very good, stacked on top of fair and poor, and what have you. So I'm just going to do quick work here, and I'm going to transpose this data. Okay. And now I'm going to insert another chart, and I'm going to change this and see if it works any differently. And it does not. So again, the recognition here is that it does not recognize. It looks at this as a total, and that is not exactly what it is. So I could, there it is. Okay. So I have just switched the series here by unclicking the switch rows and columns. Okay. So it shifted things so that I can now stack this up to 100. So this is a contrast from Excel. I now went up into my setup and looked at the series options. And when you uncheck the switch rows and columns option, it will turn it into a true stacked column or stacked bar. So if I want to go up here and change this again to a bar orientation, it will now do the up to 100%. So I'm glad I did this and struggled with it a little bit on this video because it will show you a little bit of how this process works. And again, if I want to do some formatting here, I can go ahead and do this. For example, I don't particularly like grid lines, so I turn them off. I can change the legend position if I want to. For example, if I want it to be at the bottom, which I think I prefer. And I might also want to take these labels off and delete them, but it won't allow me to delete them from here. I have to actually go up and change that part of the style, which I won't do now, but there are a couple different things that you can do when playing with this data a little bit. You have to actually go ahead and put the labels back in. But this is kind of how you can make different bars and columns appear differently by changing some of the options that you have in the customized section of the chart editor. Let's go ahead and look at the line graph. Here's some data on chlamydia prevalence in the United States. This is some data running from about 2000 to 2019. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this entire data series, and I'm going to click the Explore tab. If I scroll down, I'm going to see an analysis and a graph. This looks pretty good. So it shows me cases on the vertical and then on the years at the bottom, which is the orientation you want for trend analysis. Great, so I'll drag that in here. So this looks pretty good. Again, I could make some stylistic changes to this if I wanted to, but it does give me a sense of what data looks like. And if I hover over this line, it will show me what's happening with data. I can make some edits to how this is presented, but that's generally how you can make a line graph. And again, if I want to make some changes to this graph, I can go back up here. You can also double click on the left click to change this. I can make a couple of changes here if I want to the line graph, or I can smooth things out if I want to. A smooth line, I can make it a little bit more hard and how it presents itself, and so on. I can add labels if I want to, which I don't think is a really good idea here because these are years, but that's how you would add labels to the different axes. And so you've got a really good basic graph here. In Excel, you can do a lot more manipulation to this right off the bat without using a lot of the customized functions. In class, I'll show you how to reformat this to make it look a little bit better. But that's generally how you create a trend graph or a line graph in this program. Now, you might also want to make a histogram. A histogram will allow you to see how frequently a specific value in a data set falls out. And so we have some data on HbA1c here. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight the first couple of data from this series and drag this down. I'm going to hit Shift here and then click the bottom here just to highlight the entire series. And I'm going to go Insert Chart. Oh boy, well that's not a really attractive chart. That's not exactly what I want. I do not want a line chart. Okay, lots of weirdness going on here. So I want a histogram, and it does actually suggest a histogram. So I have a few values here, and what's great about histograms, it can tell you the spread of the data and what the most frequent values are and where they fall out. So of course, this is a data set of actually medical students and what their HbA1cs are. And you can see that the pre-diabetic value is 5.7. So you can see that the different values here fall out in different places. So this is really that cutoff right here. So this is a quick way to make a histogram. And it's automatic as long as you have all the values numerically in one column. You can also do multiple histograms and layer them if you want to. And if you want to look at the correlation between two continuous data, you can do that. I have some height and weight data. You might want to see the correlation between these two things. And so again, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this large set of data that has over 700 observations. And I'm going to insert a chart. And again, it's going to bring up the last chart type that I used, which is not really appropriate for what I am doing here. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to go scroll down for a scatter plot. The scatter plots are really useful to see the correlation between X and Y values. So if you have one thing that might be correlated with the other, it's a really great way to kind of look at the relationship there. Now we know because body mass index is our work with body mass index that weight and height do have a relationship that is cubic, and so you can see that play out actually in this data. But this is an interesting way to look at that relationship. So here I'm just going to put a scatter plot, and you see I can just automatically change the title. So this is just a quick video about how to make graphs in this program. It is really easy to do. And you can play with the formatting a little bit more, but this is the basic way to make graphs and a great way to get started looking at your data.